Hi, welcome to video 2, where we're going to talk about how to do a semiotic analysis. And then in video 3, I'm going to actually pick a sign for you and walk you through how to use it for analysis. Okay, this is something you want to put in your notes so you don't have to keep coming back to the video. There are essentially three steps to getting into your analysis. And again, remember, this is different from starting with a thesis and writing to support that thesis. Essentially, each paragraph is going to seemingly not have anything in common other than the sign. But you'll see how it all ties together in the end. And when you get that string that kind of, you notice, goes through all of your interpretations, that then becomes something you base your thesis statement on. So it's, again, writing to discover a thesis. So step 1 is you choose a sign, okay? A sign is any concrete noun from the text. A concrete noun is meaning something you can see, feel, touch, It's not an abstraction. Abstractions do not make good signs. So happiness, love, throw them out. That's not a concrete noun. I know some people would argue, oh, but I can feel love. No, you're feeling chemicals in your body or whatever. But say, for example, in doubt, first step is make a list of all the concrete nouns you can think of that might have a use for interpretation. For example, the ballpoint pen, the rectory wine, the branch that falls down between the rectory and the school. It could be the nun's habit, which is the uniform that they wear. It could be the transistor radio. There's lots that you can make. So step 1, list as many as you can. The more that you list, the more choices that you have, okay? Step 2 is you then pick one, okay, and that's going to be your sign for interpretation for the whole essay, and you're going to start listing the characteristics of that sign. And by characteristics, didn't mean to get in your face there. It could be the material. It could be the purpose. What's it used for? It could be, is there any other interpretive value to it? So, for example, if you picked a rose, okay, a rose is a living, breathing thing that can die. It also has thorns. It's associated with love. There are all kinds of, it has petals, it has leaves. It grows on a bush. I mean, any characteristic that you can think of may be linked for meaning, then make that list. That's the second thing. Then what you do is you pick one of those characteristics and you link it to something on the semiotic iceberg, okay? Say, for example, you chose the ballpoint pen, okay? The ballpoint pen was just coming into use during the setting of the play, which is in the 60s, right? The year after John F. Kennedy was assassinated, the year of race riots, okay? So the fact that that is new technology could be used to talk about historical underpinnings, about what was going on in the 60s at the beginning use of this ballpoint pen, to talk about what was going on in the 60s in the setting of the play, okay? Which adds, another way to look into this play to see, like, okay, well, some of these behaviors are typical for the 60s, some are not. For example, the mother's attitude towards the possibility that this man might be abusing her son is a very, very complex reaction. And that Sister Aloysius does not understand at all why this woman is not on her side. She's willing to go along to get along. She keeps repeating. One thing I've told y'all from the beginning, repetition has meaning. So when something happens twice, pay attention. Once it's 3 times or more, that's the writer signaling you with big, flashlights trying to land the plane on, this is important. So, for example, the mother keeps saying it's just till June. It's just till June. In the historical underpinnings, she is a black woman who had no power, is in an abusive relationship. So when she talks about, taking the good and leaving the bad behind, she's speaking from her own experience, probably, because she's got an abusive husband who's very abusive to her son. So we can extrapolate from that he's probably abusive to her as well. So she's just trying to get him to a better life through education, because she knows that's important, you know. And she's also much more open-minded about this boy's, you know, possible homosexuality. So she's just like, look, if this man is helping him get to where he needs to be, maybe he's doing some good, which goes completely against the feelings of the 60s, especially in religion regarding sexuality at the time. And this whole play is about, you know, not necessarily sexuality, but molestation of children by authority figures in the church. So looking at that ballpoint pen and saying, yeah, this is representative of something new in the time period that, you know, is looked at both ways. You know, the new church, represented by Father Flynn, he's embracing that technology. The old school, which is Sister Aloysius, she rejects it because she thinks, you know, she says it makes them press down and rot like monkeys, you know. So she rejects that new technology, the way that she rejects the new way of looking at sexuality from the mother, you know, and that the possible, you know, how he embraces that, the church saying we should be more like their family. You know, that great conversation where she's like, no, we're different because of our vows, you know. So anyway, that's how you then use that to interpret meaning into the play. And that would be a whole paragraph, you know, that you would write about how the ballpoint pen represents new technology and new ways of looking. Next, you would go back for another paragraph and you would pick a different characteristic of the sign and then link that to a different subject topic on the semiotic iceberg. You do that 3 or 4 times, you've got every body of your paragraph. Then you go back and look for what is the common thread. You know, a lot of these will come back to values, which is one of the reasons we talk a lot about values. What values is this representing? And that will probably be a string that goes through every one of these interpretations. The value of new versus old, the value of being accepting versus being, you know, more strict and draconian with the rules. So that string then becomes what you introduce in your introduction, complete with a thesis statement, and then you make your conclusion the way that we've talked about with your call to action. You know, what are you personally concluding about your thesis, and maybe the message of the play. Okay, so I'm going to now give you an example in the next video of how you can take a random object, seemingly not important, and look at it in different ways on the semiotic iceberg. Okay, I'll be right back.